what is your relationship with perfectionism?
I feel like I was a hamster on a wheel, just constantly going. And I'm like reaching and I'm trying to run towards something. What am I running towards?
Whatever is lying deep, that Nyla in there, you know, she's probably not what people want to see. When you wake up, you feel, oh, I have to be social today. Those are all signs of actually not living a life that is connected to your deeper self. Nimi Mehta. She is one of the top female media personalities in the UAE with over 10 years of experience in the industry. Nimi has also become one of the most established MCs in the UAE, having hosted the most prestigious events across all the Emirates, such as the Meta Spark Awards at the Museum of the Future, the Globe Soccer Awards, and Dubai's largest tech festival, Step Conference.
What we are doing is we are putting all of our positive energy into seeing what someone else has. And what we don't see is what we have. Why do you say that? Why do you believe that? Why do you think that? Because I think with this constant reevaluation of who we are truly feeds us into getting closer to who we want to be.
If anybody spoke to me the way I spoke to me, I would never be their friend.
Amazing, let's do it.
How are you?
I'm so good. I am so excited to have this conversation with you, so thank you for having me.
Me too. You know, it's crazy. Like, I'm building a circle here in Dubai now, and I just feel so lucky. Like, I'm meeting some incredible people, and now that you're in front of me, I kind of had like a little pinch me moment. So I want to tell you a little story. So when I started, you know, looking at all the amazing work that you've done, I started looking at all the interviews you've done, and it just brought me to, like, just one word popped into my head, and it kept popping into my head every interview I watched, which was how authentic you are. Like, I think it's so easy to tell, speaking for myself, I think people as well, but like, I think I can tell from body language, the way somebody speaks, everything, when they're not being true to themselves and they come off a little bit, maybe, you know, just like they're acting or whatever. I never got that from anything that you do. And it's like, I was like, how? So it brought me back also. I want to tell you a little story. Sorry. When I was younger, I used to audition because my dream was move to, like everyone's dream, move to LA, become an actress. You know, I thought I was the best actress on the planet, and I really believed it. And maybe, I don't know, but it just went into, I didn't think about the auditioning part or whatever. So I did auditions basically every single day. And every time it was a no and no and no. And then I would go to acting class and I felt comfortable there and I would do so good. And then I would not. After 1,000 no's, I got to a point where I was like, I was so like kicked down and just unmotivated. Thinking back now and watching your interviews and thinking back at like examining how I would show up at that time, I don't think I was being myself. And even though it was acting, I think there is a part of it still that you have to still be true to yourself, right? Tell me about that for you. How did you manage to become Nimi?
Well, first of all, thank you so much. I got goosebumps when you were saying such kind words, so that's very, very sweet. Look, I would love to sit here and say, you know, oh guys, I woke up one morning and it just clicked and it was there and I've been her ever since. It's not the truth. It's taken me over 10 years to get to where I am today. It's taken a lot of reflection. It's taken a lot of introspection. It's taken a lot of deep inner work as to figuring out why I am the way I am. Not just what I am in terms of, and I'm referring to the inauthentic stage that I was at, constantly trying to be someone else, constantly like, oh, this works for her, so this must work for me. And so I would start to mimic other people that I looked up to. When I was on YouTube and I was young at the time, I don't know if you know of Lily Singh, she was huge on YouTube. And, you know, she was doing these comedy skits and I thought, I'm going to do comedy skits. That's how I'm going to be seen and that's how I'm going to make it. And I started doing them and I could see, I mean, I felt it even when I was recording. I felt it when I was editing. I felt it when I was posting. It didn't feel right. It didn't feel right to me. But this thing that we talk about when we talk about rejection and authenticity, I'm going to touch on authenticity first because it's such a buzzword and it's such a word that people now feel like they are striving towards becoming their authentic self. And I get this question all the time, how do I do it? There is no one set answer. There is no right or wrong. This, for me, finding my authentic self has been a process of trial and error. And that's the only way that I have found that has worked. And in the process of trial and error, it's figuring out what works, what doesn't. You know, it's kind of like, I mean, I'm a semi-ex-professional tennis player. So being a professional athlete for me, that kind of figuring out what works for me, what technique works for me. Okay, on my backhand, do I want to swing or do I just want to pull back? This was all trial and error. It's the same thing when it comes to figuring out what feels right to you. And by the way, your body tells you. Your body will tell you way before your mind tells you. Yeah. And that's something that I've learned over time. So if you are in the process of finding your authentic self, I want you to become a lot more one with your body. Right. And what I mean by that is that your gut instinct will tell you. I want you to listen to that instantly. I still to this day have a battle with my gut instinct. Yeah. It's like I'll meet someone, I know something doesn't feel right, even just, you know, as a friend over a coffee, something doesn't feel right, something doesn't sit right. I will fight my gut instinct to still continue to be friends with them because, oh no, I have to give them the benefit of the doubt. Yeah. My body, my stomach already told me. I already knew. And then I'm going to learn about it a few months later. I'm going to feel like they've done me wrong and I'm going to feel like they weren't a good friend. Well, that's on you because you knew from day one. So listen to your body. It's listening to your gut instinct, how you instinctually feel when you meet someone or when you do something. The second thing is also how do you feel after you do it? So I want you to sit with your emotions, right? When I already know after this podcast episode with you, I'm going to feel so fulfilled. I'm going to feel so excited. I'm going to feel so motivated and inspired. That is just from the first millisecond of meeting you, right? And so that's a positive reaction that I'm getting. Some of us feel really drained after we do things. Yes. Some of us feel really exhausted after we meet people. Why is that? Listen to that. So finding my authentic self has been a process. I'm still very much in the process of it. I don't think you ever nail it. But it's been exciting because I'm just discovering myself.
I love that answer so much. And the listening to your body thing, I think if fighting your gut was like an Olympic sport, I think I would gold medal right here. Like, yeah. And I used to kind of like cover it up as well. I don't know if you've done this before. You feel the feeling and you, even if you are self-aware, because you haven't done the work, you kind of identify that as like, maybe I'm tired or maybe I'm anxious. Oh, I'll just have some more coffee or I'll just, whatever it is. And then you mask it so much that becomes your default setting to fight your gut instinct. And then slowly within time, you're like throwing, sand into this hole and burying what really is you. Why do you think it's so hard for people?
I want to specifically talk about women in particular, because for us, we are nurturers. We are natural people pleasers. So for us, when we see something that isn't right, our want and need is to try to fix it. Right? Okay, this person doesn't feel right. Let's talk about relationships, for example. Okay, we've all been in toxic relationships. We have seen the red flags from quite early on, right? But we stay put. Why? Oh, because I'm going to be the one to change him. I'm going to be the one to fix this situation. And I'm going to be his like white wizard on a white horse that is going to come and transform his life. We all think it's going to be us. It's never going to be us because that person isn't doing the work. So as a woman, we tend to gravitate towards the things that we can fix, right? What we need to be able to do is just stop ourselves. We don't need to please people all the time. Your first priority should be you. Does this feel right to me? Am I being served? Are my inner pillars, as I like to call them, which is, my pillars that drive me, which are my force behind everything that I do, are they being catered to? And I think that when we are doing that kind of checklist and we realize, well, no, actually, they're not. And I'm talking about relationships, friendships, works, jobs, taking on, projects, whatever it is in your world, do this checklist. What does this add to any of my pillars? Does it add to maybe two of three of my pillars? Okay, well, I can work with that. That's a majority. But if we are talking about not touching any of your pillars, you need to have that check with yourself, and then you need to have the self-awareness and the control to be able to say no to something. And I think that's what we struggle with, is saying no.
Yes, absolutely, saying no. And you think that if you are catering to everybody, it kind of takes away, because it's connected to rejection as well. You're like, I really don't want to be rejected, so I'm going to give you everything that I think you need. And then, but if it's exactly what you said, and I think I used to do that with my parents as well. Like just a tiny bit of a backstory. My parents were very much like, if you don't please me, you don't get love. And so I grew up feeling like that's just what love is. So if I want you to like me, Nimi, I'm not thinking, oh, I'm going to be myself. I'm thinking the opposite. I'm thinking, what can I be that you want me to be? And I wouldn't have this podcast if I started off that inauthentically and just kind of doing what I think people want to hear, because they read that, they can tell. The greatest thing I think also I want to add to that was amazing, but I think it's so important to look at the other side and just know that it's so energizing to actually start to be like, am I doing this for me? No. Okay, let's remove that. As soon as you take that step by step, there is an energy that no amount of coffee in the world can give you. And I got that one day, and it was, I think, the first 2 episodes of my podcast. There was no video. Just grabbed my microphone and I just talked. And I was in my bed, and I was with the big t-shirt, holes in it, hair to the side, probably hadn't showered, didn't care, just sat there with my microphone. And the first episode and the second episode, they went viral. And it was like, I was just saying my story. And I didn't think anyone was going to listen, which is why I said my story so openly. And then I was like, oh my God, people are listening. Wait, let's not change anything though, because that's not what people don't want to, be sold anything. It's like, just be yourself.
Totally. And I think that's where vulnerability comes in. And, Brene Brown does a stunning TED talk on the power of vulnerability, and, her books, everything that she does, I'm like the biggest fan. And it's something that I teach my community and all of my clients. And when I say to them, vulnerability is power, they're like, no, but it's weakness. It's weakness, because say you're in a corporate environment, how can I show I'm vulnerable in a corporate environment? It's dog eat dog out there. And my point here is that I think vulnerability is what creates the deeper connection. So we can have like a very on top conversation here, and I can tell you all the top line stuff about my career and my story and my journey, and just feel like, okay, tick, we did that. But the truth is, what I want to create is a deeper connection, not just with you, but with your listeners as well, right? And how can I do that? That is by giving a piece of myself to you. It's exactly what you did in the first 2 episodes of your podcast, right? You opened up potentially on a topic that most people wouldn't even feel comfortable sharing, or feel like, oh gosh, this is like for inside the family, this isn't something that we talk about outside. But you became the face of someone who was vulnerable, and they saw the power in that. And I think that that's what we should all be striving towards. So when you asked me earlier even about the authentic side of me, I realized that this front that I was constantly trying to put on to be really, really strong, to have it all together all the time, I was like, that's not me. The truth is, I don't have it together all the time. I'm not strong all the time. And I'm all right with sharing that, actually. And I think that's where the relatability comes in as well, the likability, right? And the trust. Trust is essential for anything that you do, for any job that you're in, right? To have these one-to-one connections, to have, if you're a manager, to have the team behind you, they need to trust you, right? To be a podcast host, to be able to hold a space where people trust you, to speak to you and open up about themselves. What part of your story can you be vulnerable about? What part of your story can you share with the world that can actually not just benefit you, but serve them as well? And I think that you will agree with me when I say this. Whenever I do interviews, whenever I am hosting the TV show, whenever I'm doing anything on stage, I always think about the audience. What do they need? It's not about me. It's about them. What do they need from this? And that is all I strive towards achieving.
I love that.
Is making sure they walk away with something.
That's gorgeous. And I think, what do they need? Like for this episode, I asked myself this question coming here while I was driving. I was like, I really want people to feel that it is okay if they feel like they haven't been living their inauthentic self, because there's such a brighter side when you do already have that thought. That's already a progress.
It's already a win.
And then also to just find out, because for me, like, I'm Lebanese, but my family was a little bit, very religious culture wise. They were like, don't do this, don't do that. And I think I was conditioned to believe that whatever is lying deep, that Nyla in there, she's probably not what people want to see. And so that conditioning, God, I wasted so much time. I wasted so much time just kind of being like, no, I will just do what everybody. And then you end up feeling a little bit performative in your life. And I love the self-aware thing. I want to touch on it again because I resonate so much with that. When you wake up and you're tired, and you wake up, you feel, oh, I have to be social today. Those are all signs of actually not living a life that is connected to your deeper self. There is a disconnection. Do you think we are being promoted disconnection?
I think that it depends on your conditioning, and then it also depends on the people that you have around you. I think that is what has kind of helped me to kind of be a lot more at one with who I am and what I want to do and how I want to live my life.
Yeah.
So I completely relate to you when it comes to the cultural conditioning. I had that. I have an Indian background. So, you know, even when it came to career choices, it was literally like my whole family were becoming doctors, dentists, engineers, all the good stuff. And I was a creative, you know, I wasn't academic at all. I was getting the worst grades ever. I was into sports. I was into art, you know, and it was kind of like, what? My grandparents were just a bit like, what's going on with this girl? My parents, luckily, were very supportive. You know, they were always behind me. They said, look, I don't care what you do, just be a good person in whatever you do. And so that's what always drove me. Having my parents behind me, I know is an absolute privilege. I know a lot of people in my background didn't get to have that, and I'm still seeing it to this day. You know, guys and girls who are in their 30s and 40s who are just like, what am I doing with my life? Having a midlife crisis of like, where am I? What am I doing? But for me, it was that kind of conditioning of always feeling like I had to fit in the box.
Yeah.
Okay, well, this is what I love to do. I want to be a creative, but no, this is not what everyone else around me is doing. So I have to do what everyone around me is doing. And so I constantly struggled. That was such a battle all the time. Sometimes I feel it even to this day, because it's always a comparison. I don't know about in the Arab culture, but specifically in ours, you know, when you're growing up and you have so many cousins and stuff in the house, it's, okay, who's taller?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah?
Yes.
For us, it was whose skin is fairer.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was a constant comparison, right?
Yeah.
And I don't blame our grandparents. That was very much what they were raised with, right? But
that's what they knew.
It's what they knew. And so we were constantly brought up with a competitive culture. And as much as I love that, because I do think in order to win, there has to be some sort of competitive element to you in life, not in a comparison way. And I think that this is where we struggle, because again, specifically as women, we tend to compare ourselves to other women a lot. What we see on social media as well is just not what reality is. So what we see are women with beautiful bodies. We see them with their perfect lives. We know social media is a highlight reel of your life, right? It is not the reality. And that is why I personally try to be so honest on my social media. If I'm going through a tough time, I'm going to tell you. If I am not feeling my best, I'm going to tell you, because it's not rosy all the time. It's just not possible to be. But there's something called the comparison cycle. And I think that this is something that's really important for us to all wrap our heads around. So when we are comparing ourselves to other people, what we are doing is we are putting all of our positive energy into seeing what someone else has. And what we don't see is what we have.
Right.
So let's just say you have these amazing boots on. Okay, I'm like, Nyla has these amazing boots on. Oh my God, I've got Birkenstocks on right now. Okay, let's just say that's the comparison that I'm going to make. Okay, so Nyla has amazing boots on. Oh my gosh, Nyla has this. And then I start to look at all the things Nyla has that I don't have. My energy is going into what you have. What then happens in turn is that I'm not focusing on the things that I have. Oh, but Nimi, you're this, you're great as well. This is what you bring to the table. What happens when I'm focusing on you and not myself is that my confidence levels drop, right? And so what happens in that final piece of the cycle is when my confidence is at a low, I then go back into the cycle of comparison. Then I'm going to see someone else and I'm going to say, this is what they have.
And
this
it goes lower and lower and lower.
And it keeps diminishing.
And it's an internal battle that we create.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's a narrative that we're creating. Right. Nobody in this room has said, Nyla's boots are amazing, Nimi, your shoes are rubbish. Nobody has said that. It's just a narrative I've built in my mind. And that is from the conditioning that I've had from a childhood of comparing, of everything's a competition. Who's taller, whose skin is fairer, who looks better, who's in better shape, all of these things. So this is where I like to start from the very beginning. And when I talk about identifying your voice, this is the work that I like to do with people. So say when you are born, who are the first influences on your voice? Your parents. Yeah. Your parents or the people that are raising you. So I want you to start your voice here. This is like blank canvas. Your parents, the people influencing your voice, their thoughts, their beliefs, their opinions on everything, okay? On top of that, you go to school. You have school kids, you have teachers, you have professors then telling you what you should and shouldn't be believing. On top of that, you grow up, you go to university, your social circle expands, you're at work, you've got managers, you've got, you know, people just now in social media, millions of voices at the click of a button telling us what we should and shouldn't be believing. TV, radio, media, everything influencing us. So what happens when all of this is piling up on top of our voice?
Utter disconnection from our inner self and our inner voice,
right?
Our own inner voice.
Right? Yeah. We're just getting completely diluted. There is this muffled sound there that we don't even know. It's like a light that has been dimmed. So what I love to do and what I did in my journey, which really truly helped me be my most authentic self, was break down all those layers. How I did that was being in absolute solitude. I did that for 1 week. I didn't speak to anyone. Yeah. I didn't do anything. I was disconnected from everything. And I questioned myself. Even to this day, I question myself on everything. Why do you say that? Why do you believe that? Why do you think that? Because I think with this constant reevaluation of who we are truly feeds us into getting closer to who we want to be.
Absolutely. I'm so excited that you said something about solitude because honestly, last year I booked a tree house in LA. And literally sat in a tree house for 8 days. And people thought I was going crazy. They're like, Nyla's lost her marbles. You know, we're going to need to, you know, do an intervention when she comes back home. And it was the best thing I've ever done in my entire life. And identifying the voice. Yeah. It was like, that's my mother, that's my ex. Wait, that's like mean young me who was defensive and reactive. I was living a reactive life. I was just responding and reacting rather than actually being intentional in whatever I'm doing. It's like that state, when I removed that little layer, it's like an onion, right? Yeah. Peel, 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 peel. But the reactive part, I literally walked out of that treehouse like a completely different person because I realized so many things were coming from that point and that point. And the voice in my head that was like, which I'm going to talk to you about in a little bit, the self-doubt and the self-deprecation, and I've talked about this in my podcast, if anybody spoke to me the way I spoke to me, I would never be their friend. I would probably get a restraining order. I'd be like, never follow me again. You know, and this was the voice that I had in my head constantly. You can't do this, Nyla. Why would you even do this? No one's going to listen to you. You don't even have any credentials. How are you going to help people? No one cares about your story. It goes deep and deep and deep. And it's like, that was the voice of my mother who in her mind was pushing me to become better. But really what it did was it gave me all the tools to attack myself. And solitude, God, I can like just need a banner, you know, the guy that writes on cardboard. Be alone.
Be alone. And like doing that is great. I think that it's needed at least once a month though.
Yeah, that's true.
And by the way, I always know when I'm in need of solitude. I start to get really irritable. I start to get really antsy. I'm not sleeping as well. My body doesn't feel as rested. I need my me time. Yeah. We all do. And if we're not spending that time with ourselves, if you don't have time at least once a week to spend with yourself, you're going wrong somewhere. Something's wrong. Your scheduling isn't right. Your priority of time isn't right. Something is missing and you need to reprioritize.
That's true. I need to do that more because it can't just be like, so last year I was alone. No, but I use that time now with my daughter. So when I'm in solitude now, it's when I'm with her because kids don't care about what's next. No. And all we do is push them to go to what's next. Hurry up, put your shoes on, go there, whatever. If you just sit with them, you just look, they can look at a page on a book and just like trace the things with their fingers, and I'm like, what are you thinking? Can you please share your thoughts? This is amazing. You're just like appreciating life and being present. So I want to talk about Nimi. She's going now. She's going to have a huge, you've talked to some of the biggest names in the world. And I want to know if you have any kind of like, what do you tell yourself? What is your self-speech that morning before going to talk to Tyra Banks, for example? I want to be you, basically. So give me, I'm taking notes.
Okay. I feel like it's always the same, and I've never actually been asked this question, But my process before I know I have a big interview is always doing nothing before I do the interview. So I'm not running around. My calendar is completely clear. I'm going to the gym in the morning. It's a lot of solitude, ironically. It's a lot of, okay, what do I really want to get out of this? I'm reflecting just how you were on the way to this interview, right? Okay, what do I want to get out of this? What do I want for the people? And I think that, you know, sometimes you can get wrapped up on it's Tyra Banks and, oh my gosh, she was my idol and I can't believe this is happening. I don't let myself get excited until it's done, because if I get excited before the interview, I feel like I lose the purpose of the interview. I lose the intention of the interview, because then it becomes about me. Then it becomes about Nimi going to interview Tyra Banks, and oh my gosh, Nimi, can you believe it? You were 10 years old looking at your screen watching this woman and thinking she is the epitome of confidence.
Yes.
It's not about me, this interview, and it's not about my moment. It will be afterwards, and I will celebrate that in its entirety. But before, what I'm going to look at is Tyra Banks and her journey, and how, okay, she is one of the biggest celebrities in the world, but I'm not going to treat her as such. She's just a human being.
Yeah.
And that's always my approach. That's why I never get starstruck. I'm never like fangirling, because I'm just like, sitting in front of me is someone's child, someone's mum, someone's sister, someone's friend. And that's always my intention, is to get the best out of them. But if I don't set my energy right before the interview, I always see the outcome being very different. And it's happened a couple of times where that interview has never gone, you know, right. I feel like I didn't get that deeper connection with them that we spoke about earlier. Yeah. And I recognize it's because of what I did before the interview. It's because of the mayhem before, you know, setting up cameras and me getting super wrapped up in the moment rather than like breathing.
Yeah.
And I have a breathing exercise that I do every single time before I start an interview.
Really?
It's called the 2-1-2. It's just something that I've created. You know, box breathing is something that really helps people. But the 2-1-2 for me is taking in 2 really quick breaths to the top of my lungs, releasing, 1 super deep one, releasing, and then 2 quick ones again. And sometimes, depending on how I'm feeling, I need to do it once, I need to do it twice, 5 times, 10 times. Wow. You know, it depends how nervous I'm feeling or anxious I'm feeling. And it happens, by the way. I do this for a living, day in, day out. But no matter what the context, no matter if it's the biggest celebrity in the world or whether it's a name no one's heard of, I always get anxious. I always get nervous. Yeah. It's normal.
Yeah.
And I take it as a good sign. It's because I care. I care. And that's why my body's reacting in a, oh my God, do well, please do well way.
Yeah.
But I think that when it comes to the physical preparation, if my body is calm and my nervous system is calm, I'm able to conduct that interview really, really well. So when it came to the Tyra Banks interview, you know, I was one of maybe 5 interviews that she had to do that day. But it was her that set the tone. I'll be honest, because I was like, Tyra, oh my gosh, okay, Nimi, calm down, calm down. Tyra sees my outfit from afar and she's like, oh my gosh, I love your outfit. Tell me, where did you get that from? And I'm like, I'm looking around like,
you talking to me?
Tyra Banks is giving me a compliment.
Yeah.
And that just 10x'd my confidence. I was like, I'm going to go in there. Like, she's my friend now.
Yeah.
Like, we're cool. We're friends now. And then that just gave me the confidence to sit there and have such a comfortable conversation with her. And so it does depend on who you're interviewing. I think you can attest to this, their vibe and their energy.
Yeah.
But you have to do what you can for yourself to really set the tone and set the right energy and set the right intention before you start.
But I like that you're like, that's not about me, but I've never heard that, but it's true. I mean, like, yes, of course you're going to feel a little bit like, oh, it's this person, but yeah. I have totally, like, you know, what did they say? Like, took a bat to my own knees when it comes to like these things when in LA, because you see celebrities all the time. And I did a Target commercial and nobody usually says if there's a celebrity on set, nobody knows until the morning of. But one of the wardrobe people accidentally sent me her thing and it said where the makeup and it said Ellen. And I was like, Ellen. I thought I know that Ellen's doing a redo with like Target when they got new prices or whatever. Anyway, I showed up. It was Ellen DeGeneres. Oh, wow. And I was like, and it was my speaking role. I remember, I literally just felt it. It was a speaking role. And I was supposed to bounce back off of Ellen DeGeneres, who I love. I'm not starstruck, but like, I love her. If you ask me any day, I'm like, she's cool. You know, it's not like... But it's not like if I met Chris Hemsworth. No, but I got there and I froze.
Oh,
Nimi,
no.
I froze. I was 22 and I froze. I couldn't feel my throat. My feet were sweating, which I had never felt that feeling before. I didn't even know feet can sweat.
Yeah, same.
And
Yes. That's a first.
And she looked to me, she was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Do I look pale?" So the first words I've ever said to Ellen DeGeneres was, "Do I look pale?"
Oh my
And she's
gosh.
like, "You do." So they had to take me to the side. And I was like, "What is going on with me?" Never been like this with anybody.
Wow.
Never. Totally got myself completely in this whole thing because I was thinking about me. And it's like, but she's amazing. And I was thinking about perfectionism. And that is debilitating. What is your relationship with perfectionism?
Yeah. I feel like when I was my most inauthentic self was when I was at my highest peak of perfectionism. That they both tied in really, really deep. I wanted to be the best. I wanted to do everything right. And that's when I feel like I was a hamster on a wheel, just constantly going. And I'm like reaching and I'm trying to run towards something. What am I running towards?
Yeah.
What, the most perfect version of me? What is that? And how do you know what it is at such a young age? Because I never sat down with myself and thought, what is it that I want to be? You know, we feel like we're constantly chasing. Why? Because of, you know, everyone in our circle doing well, or, you know, family expectations, or the number in our bank account. We're constantly chasing. But what are we actually trying to reach towards? And when we get there, is it actually going to feel as good as I thought it would? And the truth is it didn't. This perfect version of me that I was striving towards. And an example was when I became the host of MTV UK. I was striving towards being the top presenter in the UK. That was all I ever wanted. And I came out of university from doing a journalism degree and I was like, okay, where do I go now? Within months, I became the host of MTV UK. And not many presenters can say that in the UK because it's a very small knit group that get to be MTV hosts. And I got the gig and I thought I had made it. I thought, wow, this is easy. Come straight out of university.
Let's go. Life is good. I don't know what everyone's talking about.
Yeah, life's hard. What? This is great. I'm at London Fashion Week interviewing celebrities, red carpets.
The dream.
I'm at the hottest parties in London at the age of 23.
Wow.
And that's me thinking I've made it. And a year goes by, it goes okay, nothing is great. I see my career stayed stagnant throughout the whole year, and the contract ends and I'm done. And nothing happens after that. I had no job offers after that, even though I had the highest role that you could have. I had no opportunities and I was unemployed for 3 years after that.
Oh, wow.
3 years.
What did you do in those 3 years?
Oh my
For
gosh.
somebody who had already just been on basically the top and then you got knocked down. How did you deal with that?
Well, I felt really sorry for myself. I went into a deep loop of
self-wallowing.
Yeah, I was a victim. I was a victim. This happened to me. And, you know, this is the worst thing that can happen. It's also saving face out there, right?
Yeah.
How do you go from posting on your social media about being the host of MTV UK to a year later being unemployed and having no money? How do you do that? Now, I was really lucky that I had my parents who supported me financially, okay, because I would not have survived.
Yeah.
But I had to hustle and I had to put my dreams apart and I had to put them to the side for a bit. I had to start doing jobs I didn't want to do. So MTV is under a group called Viacom and they hold Nickelodeon, they hold loads of other channels in the UK, so it's a media house. And I thought, okay, if I get a job in that company, under that roof, somehow I'm going to hear a whisper of some sort of presenter job coming up or something's going to happen. That was my mentality. I believe in, the closeness of proximity. So if I'm in the power of proximity and if I'm close by, okay, I'm going to find something. So the only job available in that roof was a job at Nickelodeon and being an advert scheduler, like scheduling the ads.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't care. I'm going to take it. I'm just going to take the job because then I'm there. And it was the most monotonous, boring job I've ever had in my life. I'm a creative. I want to be in front of the screen, behind the screen. I want to be producing, directing, whatever it is. And now I'm behind a screen scheduling adverts into the schedule. And my soul was just hurting the whole time. I knew I was destined for more. I just knew I was destined. It's like this inner feeling. You know, people always ask me, how did you know? How did you know? I can't explain it. I just knew from a really, really young age that this is what I was meant to do. I just didn't know how I was going to get there. And I thought that it was going to be as clean as getting one of the best jobs in the world and I was going to be there for the rest of my life. But the goalpost always changes with dreams. And I think we can all attest to that as adults, you know, who've been through probably multiple roles, who have tried everything and everything. Like,
yes.
What is it that changes all the time?
I think we need to reframe the bad moments too, because I look back and the things that I wished, and when I did, I also had that moment a couple times where I was like, oh my God, this is great, you know, like, and it wasn't even related to what I do now at all. It was like, oh, I started a supplement company with my ex and we were doing really well. And I was like, for the first time, I can actually survive and not need anything, because I grew up basically on my own since I was a young teenager. So I did get that moment in time where I was like, great, life is good now. Well, I guess suffering is over.
Yeah.
Trauma is done, you know, all this stuff. And then life humbles you. But looking back now, even with the Ellen DeGeneres thing, and even with the McDonald's commercial that I froze and I fell, and all these terrible things that you know, maybe could have been better and I regretted. Now I'm thinking I needed those because it brought me back to actually wanting it so badly and wanting, for me, it was I didn't know like you did, but I wanted to find it so badly. Yeah. Because I was like, wait, I'm making money now. I thought it was about money. It's not. Wait, okay, well, now I'm this. Wait, now I did social media. I thought social media and, like, you know, modeling was what I wanted to do. It's like, I'm not happy at all. I'm definitely doing this because I thought that's what I should be doing to be cool.
Yeah.
And then so it was, I think you need, and it sounds so terrible for somebody who's right now sitting listening to this and struggling and it's shit and everything sucks, but you will look back and think, wow, I needed that pain. It will get you to a place where it'll kick up a fire in you. I mean, I'm talking from experience.
Yeah,
you know, if you have no backup option, no last resort, you will end up, you know, doing what needs to be done.
Totally. And, you know, I've been through so many rejections in my life, so many rejections, jobs, you know, my dreams being completely shattered and like stepped on the floor. When I look back now, now as a person who now has her own company and is on the TV and doing all the things little Nimi would have wanted to be doing, if I didn't go through those rejections, I don't think I would be as obsessed with rejection as I am now. I'm more obsessed. The irony. When I was younger, I used to be obsessed with being perfect. Yeah. And I used to be scared of rejection. And now as a 33-year-old woman who probably hasn't even, like, it's not even the tip of the iceberg for me yet, is now being obsessed. I'm obsessed with rejection. If I'm not getting rejected, in some capacity, I'm doing something wrong. What I mean by that is that I know that sounds super positive toxicity, by the way, and I know that sounds, let me explain that. So when I'm talking about rejection, what rejection shows to me is I'm trying. What rejection shows to me is I'm putting myself out there.
Yeah.
If I wasn't, I would be sitting comfortable and I would just accept that this is as far as I'm going to go. But I want to push my boundaries. I want to push my roof. I want to keep pushing that ceiling higher and higher. And in doing that, I have to expect rejection.
Yeah, it's fuel.
It's going to happen.
Of course.
By the way, you're never going to be the number one choice. Even as highly as I think of my talent, there's going to be some people out there that don't like what I do. It might not be the right fit for them. I have to almost expect that rejection. And when you get into that mindset of understanding that rejection is always going to come in some capacity or another, you're not surprised when it comes. Yeah. You won't be shocked. Yeah. You know, you'll be like, okay, yeah, saw this coming.
And it's impossible to make everyone like you anyway. Like, imagine that kind of energy invested in trying to make complete strangers or even people around you, make them change their idea or their opinion of what you do or how you do it.
Totally.
It's exhausting. Yeah. It's not even sustainable or even doable, I think.
No. And I think you're doing yourself a real disservice if you are constantly trying to live for others. You know, you can just be your best self. There's billions of people on this earth. Some people are going to like it, some people won't, and that's okay. The people who love you will love you harder, and the people who don't like you won't like you harder, and that's okay.
I love that. That's beautiful. I want to ask you, I missed your last event and I'm really sad about that, but I had to take my daughter. This is stuff you do with kids. I had to take my daughter to a 3-year-old's party. Sorry, even though every part of me was like, I need to be at her event, but I missed it. So I'm excited to join the next one. Yeah. But I'm curious to what is the most common question you get from the women that you speak to on what they struggle with the most? Is it a few things, or is there one specific thing that everyone, it seems to be like a pattern?
You know, the number one thing that women tend to ask me every time they meet me is, how do I become more confident? They say, I have the skills, I have the talent, I believe I do. But for some reason, when it comes to execution, I can't be my most confident self. How do I do it?
Have you ever said, don't be scared of being a bitch?
I've always said that hold your boundaries. And I think that's probably the PC way of saying it. But I think I should take you next time so you can say it. You know, and I feel that constant battle, by the way, specifically in what I do, is that reputation is everything in this industry, right? And people talk, and people will talk about their experience with you, and they will go and tell the next production company or the next events company that Nimi was XYZ. I'm really conscious of that, you know, that I never want someone to feel as if they've had a negative experience with me. Yeah. I want them to walk away with a positive experience. And I feel like as women, again, it comes back to the people pleasing version of us, where we just want people to like us.
Yeah.
When we feel like we're not liked, we feel rejected. But this is where I think that I battle with, I don't want to be a diva and I don't want to be seen as difficult, but I also want to hold my line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. What is difficult? What is it? What is being, I hate the word, but I want to reframe it. It's like, what is being a bitch or whatever? It's like when you have boundaries, when you say that doesn't work for me. Yeah. And in my relationships, I've been a bitch when I've said that doesn't work for me. I really don't like that. That makes me unhappy. You know, I didn't yell. I didn't say anything rude or mean. I just said that doesn't, wow, I'm being a bitch.
Yeah.
So I think that's what you were kind of on the same page. I know what you're saying.
Totally.
But yeah. And I think we're so scared of upsetting people.
Yeah, because we're meant to be in our feminine.
Yeah.
And we're meant to be, you know, super soft, and we're meant to be submissive, and we're meant to go along with whatever we're told to say. However, if a man stands up strong, and if a man says, I'm not okay with that, wow, Powerful.
Chris Hemsworth?
Strong. Yeah.
Is that you?
Yeah. You're obsessed.
I am.
It's completely different experience for us. So as women, we have to, it's already a process to say that we don't want something and to hold our line. But then we have to double down on thinking about how we express that. Okay, well, I can't go in too hard.
Right.
Because they're going to think I'm a bitch.
Yeah.
Okay, so I need to do it a bit this way. Maybe I can reframe the sentence to say, you know, I think that I feel, and so instead of being like you, we have to switch it to I language. And so this is, I go back and forth specifically in my own journey, but with a lot of my clients, is that as women, we have to almost think twice.
Right.
Before a man will think once and just say it.
So what's the antidote to that? What is your antidote to that?
I would say that there's a difference. I had to reframe my mind on being kind, but also being assertive. You know, I never want to be the diva, the bitch. And that's how I am going to be portrayed anytime I lay a boundary down. I also have to accept that that is going to be how I'm portrayed. That's okay. But I actually will love myself more once I've laid that boundary down. If I don't, I'm going to walk away hating myself.
Yeah.
I'm going to look back and be really angry at myself. I'm going to lose confidence in myself. I have to do it for myself. So always, if anyone's listening right now and they feel like they're in a situation where, you know, oh, there's no point me saying it because if I say it, I'm going to be seen as the bitch. I'm going to be seen as difficult. Please just say it.
Yeah.
Just start saying it.
And it'll feel like you swallowed an ice cube until you say it.
Yeah.
At least for me. If there's something that's just sitting at the tip of my tongue, I can't take it. You know, it genuinely upsets me. Yeah. And it manifests into something else.
Yeah.
Anxiety, or like what you said earlier, irritability. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it comes out in like frustration. If I haven't said something in the workplace, I'll go home and I'll take it out on my partner.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't want to be that. Yeah. Release. It's what we call our throat chakra being completely blocked. And so release, say the things. Don't say it in a manner that is inauthentic to you. What I mean by that is if you feel like you want to have a one-to-one with someone, sit down and be like, you know, I do feel XYZ, but what can we do about it? Because the point is to have a collective, what's it called? Solution. Right. A collective solution at the end, right? So we don't want to just be a complainer. We don't want to be the person who's just like saying, oh, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. Okay, what's the solution?
Pointing finger. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say release. whatever it is, in whatever capacity, get it out. If you're not comfortable speaking it, write it, right? Write a message, write an email. But I would always suggest speaking face to face, because I think that messages and written communication gets really misinterpreted.
Oh, 100%. There's so many memes about that. I'm like that. I read a message and I think I always read it in like an attacking way.
Yeah.
In relationships with my partners.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know, and he's like, what do you mean? All I said was, this simple thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, but the tone. He's like, how did you know the tone?
Yeah.
It was a text.
Exactly.
I do think face to face, and it feels. I think if you take away the fact, people don't want to do face to face because they're so scared, because they I've heard this a lot from my friends. I don't like confrontation. I'm like, is it confrontation though? It's not confrontation. If you're saying to somebody, hey, by the way, last time when you said you're going to meet me there and you showed up 2 hours late, and I had a babysitter with my daughter and I had to pay extra, that's not you being like. It's not, in my opinion, not confrontational. That's not a bullet. It's not an attack. That should be a collective solution. And that does 100%. Make you more confident to be able to speak how you feel.
Totally. And the way I completely reframe that is, it's not confrontation, it's clarity.
Yeah.
Right?
That, yeah.
How great do we feel once we've sat down with someone, we've had clarity, we walk away with purity, we walk away with good energy. I'm so glad we're on the same page. And by the way, confrontation has such a negative connotation to it, that I feel like calling anything confrontation is automatically going to be a negative experience. When you call it clarity seeking, it's different. Also, that means I care. If I'm sitting down with you and I'm talking about this, it means I care. You should be worried when I'm not talking to you about these things. That means I've switched off and I don't care anymore. But sitting down with someone and truly being like, look, this hurt me, or this isn't right, and I would like it if we do X, Y, Z. Can we have a conversation about it? I care. And we're both going to walk away with clarity. And I think that's really important.
Beautiful. You're amazing. And now I'm just looking to see how horrendous my handwriting is. This morning I was like, I'm going to do this old school, like pretend to be, I'm like, I don't want to look at my phone, I'm going to write it down. But this is
your writing. Oh my gosh.
It's okay. You can laugh.
No.
You're like, that's nice.
No, but I get it, because even when I have my scripts, I prefer my handwritten notes.
Yes. And I think actually it ended up being a lot more, it just kind of like wrote it in my head as well. So I don't really need to look down, but I'm going to look down.
Please do. Like, Please do.
This is my 20th episode, by the way.
Wow.
And I'm really proud of how far it's come. And I want to say, honestly, in the beginning, my plan was to do this at home with friends in like sweats, and like you come with like no makeup, and we do it super, super easygoing. But I've kind of reframed it because I think that, this is my only way that I feel inauthentic right now, is because I'm like, I should be feminine, I should dress up, and it actually ended up being a good thing. It's bringing something out of me that I think I've been in sweats for the past 6 years.
Yeah.
I'm serious. It's making me now want to like show up in that way. I'm meeting beautiful people and, learning a lot about style.
But it really matters, by the way, when it comes to how you look. Like I'm completely all for the sweats, and I'm all for the comfortability. But when you look good, you feel good. And when you feel good, you perform good. And I noticed that, right? And we spoke just before the recording, and we were like, oh, we don't like wearing makeup. We don't have it like having to dress up. But my goodness, my alter ego is completely activated when I dress up. If you see me in my sweats, you're going to get the real deep Nimi that maybe not everyone really wants to see. But when I'm dressed up and I look good and I feel good, you're going to get like the 200% version of me. And I think that's really important for people to realize. And I don't want you to think about dressing up as being vain and, self-obsessed. That's not what I mean. I mean, like, dressing well, comfortable, you're showing up as the best version of yourself, because that's when you're able to perform your best. When I look good, my goodness, I perform so well in the TV studio, on stage. I feel good about myself. It does wonders for your confidence. So don't look at it, and anyone listening, I don't want you to look at, caring about your image as vain. Yeah. It should be about, it's part of the puzzle. It's a piece of the puzzle that is needed for you to be the best version of you.
Yeah. And I realize as long as the content and the things that are coming out of my mouth are me, it doesn't matter what I wear.
No.
And that's the thing. If I start to dress whatever, like, okay, dress nice, but then also changed myself, and now I'm talking like somebody completely different, or I'm putting on an accent. I don't know.
Yeah.
But then that would just, I wouldn't feel good. But I love coming to the studio because I just feel like I met you, we're on a lunch date.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to lose that.
No, I love that.
Is that how you feel about your interviews sometimes?
Yeah. I mean, what's difficult about interviews is that they're always in different environments and you never know where they're going to be, right? It might be last minute backstage once the celebrities come off stage or whatever. So it's always quite hectic. But I always feel like as long as I center myself and as long as I'm one with myself and as long as I feel good about myself, the interview is always going to go great. So it's less about kind of like the environment, because it's really touch and go with the environment with these media interviews. But being at one with myself is all that matters. And that's like the drive over. Am I listening to music that makes me feel good? Am I just in there in silence? And am I doing my breathing exercises? Am I going over my interviews? Am I listening to one of their interviews? What is it? What is that preparation process? So, yeah.
I love that. So what is Nimi's dream? Like, what is it that you want to achieve, because you do so much amazing work for women? And there must be something that's kind of like inside you that you really wish that if you could, and it was an ideal world and we're in a movie right now and you clicked your fingers and every woman out there has this, what would it be other than confidence? But what do you think it would be so vital for our society right now?
I think the most important thing at the moment, and something that I've really been in the energy with, is I wish all women had the skill to carve the inner circle that serves them. Because I think that what I have done for a very long time and what a lot of women do is surround themselves with the wrong people. They don't serve us in any way. They don't make us feel good about ourselves in any way. And so if I could click my fingers, I would give that to every woman. Because honestly, I feel like I've become the successful individual that I am today because of the individuals I have around me.
Wow.
The people that I allow access to me, the energy that is allowed near me. I realized and I recognized when I was younger, I didn't have the right people around me. And that's why my mindset and my mind frame was just completely wrong. That's why I was not in success mode whatsoever. I wasn't even close to it. I wasn't authentic at all. But when I started surrounding myself intentionally with the right people is when I started to not just achieve my goals, but I started to feel more myself. And I started to be okay with it, that I didn't have to be anyone else. I'm loved for who I am. And I feel like if every woman had that, then it would completely transform their journey and their experience as a human.
I love that. I agree with that. I think I did that with, I said this recently on my social media, and I didn't realize how many people are going to resonate with it. My mom used to say, I don't like women. And she used to always be like, oh, girls are so bitchy. And like, I had my best friend, I remember her, she was amazing, her name was Samantha, and I was young, and she, every time we would fight, my mom would be like, see, I told you, this is what women do, they're very da-da-da. And I'm not shitting on my mom, by the way, but I'm just saying this was her culture, this is what she knew, I'm sure she did her best, but I did genuinely believe that. And for a while, all my friends were guys, and I would just kind of go with this narrative. It's like, oh, women don't like me. And, you know, I think if we would just end up fighting or whatever. I created my own wall. And now, flash forward to now, and especially with the help of this podcast and like surrounding myself with women who say positive things about women and who don't knock other people down and literally are like one example is Erica. You were on her podcast about theory. She's amazing.
Love her.
But it's like she wants to elevate me and she is dying to elevate me. And she, you know, she's not coming to criticize or even, she's like, do you need any help with your podcast? Like, is there any tips that you want? I'm like, what is this? This is amazing. And this has been out there this whole time. It's who you choose. Maybe that was my mom's experience.
Yeah.
But actually, it is so beautiful to be able to be around women who lift you up and elevate you, want to see you do better.
Totally. And it's called the female effect. There's actually a scientific term behind it, how physiologically it changes us as women when we're around women. So that's two or more women coming together and bonding over something, having something in common, right? That we connect over. And what that does is it completely increases our oxytocin. And then we're feeling so great after we leave having a conversation with each other. It completely decreases our stress hormone. It's meant to be for us. We are meant to be surrounded by strong women and people who feed us. I completely relate to you because I was a tomboy growing up and I had bad experiences with women, with girls growing up, right? So I just thought girls don't like me. I built that same narrative. And even when I moved over here, mostly guy friends.
Yeah.
You know, it's just what I was like, it's simple, you know, there's no strings attached. It's like so chill with guys, no expectations. It was only when I started going into the space of what truly serves me did I realize that I need women around me. It's not even like I want. We need women around us to be the best version of ourselves, to see our reflection, to mirror us and show us ways that we potentially haven't seen before. And I think that it's that camaraderie. And it sounds so cliche now, you know, we do all these women events and it's become really cliquey, but I don't think there's a lot of women in my DMs actually that spoke about my event, and they were like, oh, we'd want to come, but I don't know if it's just like too cliquey, if it's too like women coming together. And I was explaining to them that there is no better feeling. Like, I used to be that person that was quite cynical about women coming together and being all like, oh, women empowerment. But it's not that. It sounds like it's going to be, we're just going to be, we're going to be sitting there talking about being women. It's not that. It's just about shared experiences and shared journeys. And when you have that with someone, you realize you're not alone.
Yeah.
And I think that's the power in it, right? That we're all going through it together. What's scary in this journey of holding my community and now having, I'm so proud to say we're a 2,000 women community globally, is that the peace in knowing that everyone's going through the same experience. It's not that misery needs company, but it's just that it's so great to know I'm not alone.
We need to feel safe within each other, but only we can create that environment of feeling safe together. It's okay. Clicky. Now it's exactly what they said. Clicky women, to me, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's great.
Yeah.
You know, but again, older me, younger me would have said, oh God, that's, you know, scary. What if they judge me? What am I wearing? And it's like, let's create that safe space for each other and starting by the people closest to you. Like, it's okay. You can look like, say, do whatever you want, Nimi.
Yeah.
You are always welcome in this circle, in this space.
Yeah.
And that we can do that.
We can.
We don't need to change the world. We just change us.
Yeah. And the reality is, though, I love that we're speaking about this, because the reality is there are a lot of people out there that don't have this mind frame, right? There are a lot of women out there who, not women bashing here, but it's just the reality of it. Yeah. There are women who see you as a competition. There are people there that don't want you to win, right? What do you do about that? How do you change that? I would really, really suggest, and this is what I say to all of my clients, I want you to assess everyone around you. I want you to assess every single person. Are they lower than 50% or higher than 50% in terms of what they are giving you, in terms of positivity, good energy? You know, when you share good news with them, how do they react? Do they react well? Or do they react with, oh, okay, so how did you do that? How much did you buy that for then? These kind of questions, if this is their reaction, they're not your friend.
Yes, or changing it to them instantly, or dismissing.
Totally.
Yeah.
They're not your friend.
Yeah.
They don't want you to win.
And it's okay to leave.
It's okay.
Coming from somebody leaving, going through a breakup. Yeah. It's the simplest thing my therapist has ever said to me. Like, do you know it's okay to leave?
Yeah.
I was like, it's okay to leave.
Yeah.
Why didn't I not know that? It's okay to let go of people. It is not, it's your life.
It's your life. No one's holding a gun to your head. You make a choice. So if you are the average of the 5 closest people to you, and even one person in that 5 is a really, really low score count, they need to go. They're bringing down your average, right? So be okay with letting people go. It's kind of like a train. They've served you to a certain spot. Let them off. You just keep moving. And I think that as women, we need to be okay with that. And it's really our choice. It depends what kind of future you want. Do you want a fruitful one? Do you want a positive one? Go do something about it.
Beautiful. You're amazing. Thank you so much for coming. Can I please come to your next event?
Yes.
I want to be in the clique.
No, you're in. You are so in.
Thank you so much, Nimi. You're such a beautiful person, honestly. You inspire me. Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yay.